Hi, everybody. My name's Chelsea.
And I'm Erika.
And this is our Talk to Me video for the Huffington Post series, #TalkToMe. So, Mom, thank you for joining me here. Obviously, we aren't doing this interview in person because we live in two different states. So we are doing this via Skype video call, and we hope that you guys enjoy it. So, Mom, the first question I have to you is a question a lot of sons and daughters have for their parents, which is, what advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
The best advice I would give to my 25-year-old self, or any 25-year-old, let's just say, would be true to yourself. No matter what society says, no matter what social media says, no matter what your parents say, be true to yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to make yourself happy.
Yeah, and that's something that my generation really struggles with, especially with all the societal pressures. Like, you have to get married, you have to have a job, you have to, have kids. You were a really young mom. How do you think that influenced your parenting style, being a young mom?
Well, I think it was great because I didn't know what I didn't know. I mean, being a younger mom, it was easy to just let you do whatever you wanted because it was like, it's okay. I'm not sure I'd be as flexible as I was then.
Interesting. Besides being a younger mom, you are also an open lesbian. What was it like coming out when you were just 19 years old?
Well, at that time, they had these things called phone books. The yellow pages. They were thick books, and you got them, and everything from A to Z was listed in there, and I just turned the pages, and I found gay and lesbian. And there was a center there where I could go to meetup groups. I guess they weren't called meetup groups then, support groups. So it was pretty easy. You just look under L for lesbian. Sort of like Google, but not quite as fast.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's changed a lot since then. What advice would you give to young people just coming out today?
Well, I suppose it depends on the part of the country you're in. I mean, some places it's easier to come out than others, but again, it all goes back to thine own self be true. Whoever you are, wherever you are, you have to be true to yourself. And if you don't have support locally, get support online or get support globally. It's all here, no matter who you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that's still very much the same. Coming out is a hard thing no matter where you are or, what age you are. As a mom, what's one thing you wish you would have known before you had me?
One thing that I wish I had known before I had you was don't listen to anyone. Do what's in your heart to do. I kept listening to all these different people who said, oh, you should do this, you should do that. I mean, even right up until a year ago when you had your incident, I still was kind of listening to people. But at the end of the day, I did what I thought was best for myself and for you.
She's talking about an incident, obviously, where I struggled with mental health issues. And May being Mental Health Awareness Month, what's something you could tell people about staying healthy both mentally and emotionally?
Well, what I know now that I didn't know when I was in my 20s was how important being physically fit is to your mental health. I mean, I never ran anywhere unless it was for a donut. And now I understand how important being physically fit and eating well is. I didn't eat well. I didn't even care, let alone know how to eat well. And now I understand that mind-body connection. Also, a big part of my life when I turned about 25 was meditation. And believe it or not, it is still a huge part of my life every day. And that helps tremendously.
Yeah, you have a lot of positive hobbies and things that you do. And you've also done a lot of things by being self-employed. What's one piece of advice you would have for people trying to become self-employed or start their own business the way that you did when you started your own spiritual community?
Well, I guess I would say don't worry about trying to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or whoever is the next big thing. Just be who you are. If you have a passion for writing, then write passionately. If you have a passion for art, then be artistically passionately. It doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about being successful or making $1 million. You just have to worry about being your true self and giving your gifts, your talents.
Yeah, and that's something you've definitely imparted on me throughout my childhood and my teen years and my 20s. Definitely never felt like I was like limited by anything, especially not my degree. Like you can do whatever you want. What's one thing you would tell people who have started their career but are like maybe dissatisfied and are trying to start another career? Like, is that something you would suggest to people?
Oh my God, I've had like 3 different types of lives in my career world. The days of staying at one place is over. And even for people your age, I mean, you know that you're probably going to change every 10 years. I mean, you shouldn't be the same person at 20 when you're 30. I mean, your taste, your ideas should change, and your career might change a couple of times, and that's okay.
Yeah, and changing gears to talk about something other than just careers is relationships. You're in a committed relationship now. What's one thing that you feel like keeps your relationship fresh?
Well, having had many relationships that didn't turn out as a success the way society deems it, I think they were a success because I learned a lot. The way I stay fresh in my relationship is I continue to learn. Even when I fuck up royally. Can you say that? Well, even when I mess up royally. The reality is, you just try it again. Don't close your heart down when it gets hurt. Pick that thing up, dust it off, put it back in your chest, and keep going. Keep loving.
What advice do you wish you could give yourself about relationships in your 20s and 30s?
Cut your losses early. If it's bad, I mean, over a period of time, give it the axe. Don't keep trying and trying and trying. I mean, you just end up depleted and they end up unhappy. Cut it. Say you're fired.
Yeah. Is that something that your parents taught you? Did your mom talk to you about what a healthy relationship looked like when you were my age?
Not so much. I can't say that my family embodied healthy relationships. They did the best they could. They're good people, but relationships and how they work, it just wasn't something we talked about. Not like you and I. Now I know a lot more, so I share a lot more with you.
Yeah, that's true. You have a lot of opinions and suggestions about my love life or lack thereof. What's one thing
just trying to be helpful?
It's very helpful indeed. What's one thing that you think, or what's one thing that you hope that I know about relationships now that I'm getting older and starting to kind of settle down?
Well, I hope you know that love is what matters. That's the most important thing. But love is not going to see you through the tough times. You've got to have trust. You've got to have commitment. You've got to have integrity. You've got to understand what your values are individually and as a couple, because those are going to base all your decisions. And I didn't know anything about values when I started relationships. Now I know a lot more.
Kind of to bring this full circle back to career, you have had a lot of experiences being the boss and managing other people. What advice would you give young women, especially women of color, about being in a position of power?
Well, whether you are given the title of being in a position of power or not, you're always in a position of power because you make the choice in how you show up at your work. You make the choice in whether you want to move up the ladder or not. There is no glass ceiling. The only ceiling is on your mind and on your strength. And we know we don't have any ceiling. So don't let anything stop you. Always go after what you want.
My last question for you today, just to wrap up this conversation, is about spirituality. What's one thing that you've learned about being spiritual and believing in God that you didn't know when you were 25 that you know now?
Oh my gosh. Shut up, sit down, and listen. I mean, really, SYPD, sit your butt down and listen to the inner voice. If you never give yourself a chance to hear what God, the universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it, has to say to you, how are you going to know what to do? You can't always just listen to social media. You've got to listen to your own voice, and that means you've got to be quiet.
Has that really helped you as you become older in like...
Oh, yes, it has helped me tremendously because if I didn't stop and listen, I might be swayed by any kind of thing. But now that I've listened to the voice, that voice that I choose to call God, I feel like I am more guided and directed and not just throwing stuff against the wall and hoping it works.
This is going to go up on all of our social media sites. You're very instrumental in using social media. Just last week, you told me you were taking an Instagram course. You use Facebook, you use Twitter, you use LinkedIn. What's one piece of advice you would give people in this day and age about using social media as a tool?
Well, I'm not going to be one of those old-fashioned parents who say, don't put anything up. Oh, my God. It's never going to go away.
That's great advice. Oh.
What I want to say is be the kind of person that understands what you're putting up and only put up the best parts of yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, consider it's an Oscar-winning movie. You only want the best parts. Of course, sometimes it's dramatic and sometimes it's funny. Make sure that you manage your brand. It's all right to be in social media. Just use it to your advantage.
Yeah, and you would know because you are like the selfie queen, and I'm actually pretty proud of you for not looking at yourself throughout the entirety of this video and looking at the camera like we practiced several times. All right, well, thank you so much for talking to me, Mom. Happy Mother's Day. Wish I could be there. Your card is on the way. And thank you for everybody out there that watched this video.
Bye.
Bye.